Whakarongo ki te tangi a te kori mako. Kōrero flowing out the hook of force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds. Kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā kona whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira hira. Whakarongo pi kari kari mai. Hare hare mai, o Taringa hare hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody. Gather up close everybody. Kani move that body. Kani move that body.
E ngā maiko, e ngā kura, e ngā ko wharawhara o rātou mā tēnā koutou katoa, ko Taringa tēnei, e whakapāho atu nei, atu i ngā tari matua, o Kahungunu, o Kauaka. Ko Taringa i tēnei rā, ko te Kauaka o te reo Māori, ko te Kauaka o te kaupapa, e mihi atu nei me tō tātou. Manuhiri tū ārangi ko tai mai nei. Tēnā rātu koe.
Ki tau anō whare.
Ki tau anō whare.
Nā koe e whakatau mai nei.
Ai, whakatau.
Tōku whare. Kia ora.
We're actually in Tātere's office i tēnei wā. So, yeah, ngā mihi kia koe engari ai. Nei mai oki mai.
Kia ora kōrua. Tēnā kōrua.
And we're not in the bustling metropolis of Kaumati.
We're in the sleepy town of Taringa, where they celebrate Halloween.
Yeah. And we had a bit of a change up. So, i konei a tāti moti. I nai nei, ko tēnei rangatira o tātou. No, e mi ana kia koe e te hoa.
Kia ora kōrua.
Hoki mai ki te manaki i te karanga.
Ai.
A Taringa. Ai.
Rere, kanu te aroha.
Yeah.
I guess we start with the kiwaha e hoa.
Ko tētahi o waku tino kiwaha, kāre te tino rangona i nai nei, ko tēnei kiwaha nei ko te kāti tonura. And it's not heard much today, and I think the last person that really used to use it was our teacher, Matero Hainga. She was a Ngāti Poraukuia, and anyone who went to a kōrero knows that her kaupapa was kiwaha. That's what she taught. And she was sort of the queenie or the kiwaha. Anyway, this kiwaha she used to use was kāti tonura. And the way you use it is like just as well something happened there. Oh. So I might ring her and she'll say, kāti tonu koe kia waia mai. Just as well you called me. So she'll say, kāti tonu rā koe kia waia mai, I te mehe take tāku.
Kia ora.
Just as well you call, because I have something. Or, or I might say to Timoti, he might say to me, e mea nei te haere, he was going to come with me to something, and I go to something, and I know he wouldn't have liked it. I said, Timoti, kāti tonu rā koe kia kore hara mai.
Oh, kia ora.
Just as well you didn't come.
Yeah, just
so
like
kāti tonu rā koe kia kore hara mai.
Kia kore.
Yeah, so kāti tonu rā engari. But, a lot of the time I'll use it quite often. I'll just say, geez, kāti tonu koe. Just as well you reminded me. Ne, kāti tonu koe kia whakamaumahara mai ia. Or ko kāti tonu koe I maumahara ai ahau. Ahua pera tuai. See, that's the one I like, that kiwa. And there's not many people that use it.
Nō mo te past tense tērā kiwaha.
Can't use it for...
Wā he hua ka puta ne.
Ai. And i te kiwaha scale, kono koe mo te kiwaha scale o Taringa, from 1 to 5, we would it be 5 being ua, 1 being easy?
Oh, I think it's quite difficult. And I have heard some people trying to use it, and they're using it completely wrong.
Yeah, because you've manipulated it in a few ways.
Yeah, because there's lots of ways you can use it. But I think Matero was the last person to use it. And I only know that because I once had my friend Leon ask me, he said, hey, how te tika ngō tērā kiwaha? And I know if Leon's asking me what something means, which is very rare. It is very rare that Leon Blake asks me something about the language.
Kia whakatau ki au I konei.
Kāti tonu rā I whakahua koe.
It was so memorable and it was so it was so poignant in my mind.
Hea te rā, te wā, I whea koe.
I was like, kare koe te moe ki tētahi mea? No, because he's the mantis, right, of language. So when he asked me, I thought, well, this mustn't be a frequently used kiwaha. But I love it. You can use it in so many contexts.
Well, it's the additions to elaborate on the whakaaro that, I'm thinking, because I kāti tonu rā kia.
And then there's the kia kore to
kia
negate.
Kore.
See, we went to a tangi this morning, and there's only 3 of us. There wasn't many people at the house, and I would have said to Paraone, geez, kāti tonu tātou kia haere. Just as well.
Nice. Okay, so ara I rongo rā ko te whakamahinga o te kupu kia.
Yeah, kāti tonu tātou kia haere.
Yeah.
So
not kāti tonu tātou I haere. Kāti tonu tātou kia haere.
And then kia kore to negate it.
Kia kore kia. So that's the thing.
And then you can put an EI in afterwards.
Yeah. That's the other part.
So, you might say, I don't want to go to that hui because I think it's gonna pour down soon. And then you watch it rains, cats and dogs just say, oh, geez, ka te tunu tātou kia noho ki te kāinga. Just as well we stayed home.
Yeah. So the personal pronoun is before the kia.
Yeah.
Is that personal pronoun?
I have
Tūpo.
no idea.
Tupu. Ai.
Yeah.
Tūpo toaha.
Wero mai te kāmara. Whai no kuira te kiwaha.
Te kiwaha.
Kiwaha. Nā, e te iwi ko te kupu tēnei.
Ai.
Nā, kia moe mai koutou. He tākuta tātere.
He tākuta.
He is a doctor. Tata. Ana ko te... e ano te taitaro o tō tūingaro?
Determining a dialect for Ngāti Kahungunu, its history, evolution and future.
Ka pai. Nō reira, koe rā tā tātou wānanga i tēnei rā. Engari, e hara, e hake, i te mea ko Kahungunu, te aronga. Engari, kia whānui o tātou whakaaro mea tātou kōrero ki te mo te mita.
Ai.
Engari, ko te tūreo. Let's start there, tai?
Yeah.
Tūreo. Because I've been
waving the
promulgating
flag.
that word. Yeah. Be careful doing that down here. Hoi anō. Hoi anō.
Put it closer to your mouth.
Yeah.
Be right.
You know what I mean? So te tūreo.
In your research, the role of a PhD is to create new knowledge.
Ai, kia
Koe
ora.
rā te whāinga matua. I roto i te ao te mātauranga. Ko tauna takoha ki te ao te mātauranga, ki te puna o te mātauranga, huri no i te ao. And ko tētahi wāhanga waku rangahau was looking at te takenga mai o te kupu o te mita. Where did the word mita come from? How did we start applying the word mita to dialect?
Kia ora.
Because dialect is quite a big kaupapa. There's a lot within dialect, and we applied mita to dialect, accent. There's a whole lot of things that we apply mita for.
Hea te accent.
Well, some people chuck accent under your mita. So mita
No,
can...
hea te accent.
Accent is te momo o tauna whakahuahua.
Kia ora.
It's the momo o tō
Just in
whiu te
case.
kōrero.
Yeah.
And I've just been in Australia for 2.5 weeks, and I grew up in Australia, and hearing the accent there, I forgot what it sounded like. It's cool. It's cool in the pool.
In the pool.
In the school.
Yep.
Anyway, back to this word tūreo. So we looked at the I forget, there's a word when you look at a whakapapa of a word, there's a word in English when you talk about
Etymology.
Etymology. is it?
Etymology.
The etymology of
I've
the
read
word
one of these.
mita.
Yes, and you can do an etymological dissection of a word.
Kia ora.
He should have a doctorate.
Dissection is
right?
only 2
Pretty
parts.
whakahihi.
He should have
Anyway,
a doctorate, I reckon.
give me an honorary one.
Give an honorary one.
Kia rongo mai koe tēnei.
They're giving them
Wānanga
to
toa.
Yep, they're giving them to every Tom, Dick and
Kare
Harry.
pirangi uti, just give me one. Anyway, haere tonu.
Ko whakawhiwhia kia wai noi hora, so you'll be right. Anyway, so tūreo, we looked at mita and went through the old newspapers to see where it was used. Was it used in the JPS? Was it ever used as dialect? And the first reference, I think, was Elsden Best in the early 1900s, but he didn't really use it in regards to dialect.
Kia ora.
But I feel it came from the English word mita, M-E-T-E-R, which talks about the stressed and the syllabic
And rhythm.
rhythm of language.
Yeah.
It's about rhythm of language. So I guess they've taken the word mita, it's a borrowed word from the word meter, and they've put it into our language for dialect, the rhythm of the language.
Kia ora.
I just didn't feel that fit. I didn't feel it was broad enough because a dialect is a variation of a language.
Yeah.
And it's a lot bigger than just rhythm. And Parani and I had this conversation because we spoke about te rangi o te reo. Could te rangi o te reo be enough to describe dialectal variations? And I said, well, rangi, it talks about the rhythm and the sound and the flow of the language. I
Yeah.
said, but then there's other components missing.
Yeah, ko
Anyway.
anyway. Tētai kupu i tainui, ko
Ai,
te rangi.
ko te
Te
rangi
rangi
o
o
te
te reo o ngā pui, ko te
ai.
rangi o te reo o te tai rāwhiti.
Which I think would make sense because our language was once just a spoken language, right? So that would make sense. We would have only gauged it based on sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Whether there were different carving, no doubt there were different tribal carving styles and all that. Anyway, we looked at, I thought, well, what's a word that captures that? A dialect is a variation of a language, which is made up of words, sound and grammar, which is why I thought mita doesn't work. And I asked Timoti what his word might be, and he said to me, nā motu haketanga āreo. I thought, it's a little bit long.
Just a tad.
Just a tad bit long. I said, hey, do you know nā motu haketanga āreo o Tainui?
Yeah.
So I looked at this word tū, and tū, like, there's tū āhua, there's tū momo,
Tū mo mai.
Yeah.
there's
E ne kaha whanga nui te whakamahi te tū.
i te tū,
Oh,
ne?
ne?
Yeah. Arā tērā tū kaupapa, tēnei tūhui, he kaha whanganui te whakamau.
So I thought, well, tū means a variation, ne?
Ai.
And I thought, well, you got tū momo, tū āhua, there's other words as well in the language. So I thought, well...
Tūkuru.
Tūkurewa. Okay, what's your...
Anyway.
Too much. So I thought, well, tūreo.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I created that word in my thesis, but I hardly use it because most people, well, all people are, they know the term mita.
Yeah.
That's the commonly used term.
Yeah.
And we know that when you go out and start spouting off new words, a lot of people go, huh? What does that mean? So I've slowly started to sort of use it and share it with people, but I tend to use the word mita so people understand what I'm talking about.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koe. Hei, hea o kitenga i roto i tō rangahau. E pāna ki, o tuatahi ki te tūreo o Kahungunu.
I think as a second language learner, ne? And I started learning the language in 2004. I learned I guess a melting pot of dialects.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it was probably two main dialects that I learned. Would have been Tūhoi and Ngāti Porou. Well, I learned from people that hailed from those tribes, native speakers from those tribes. Because Matiro didn't just speak coasty dialectal variations. She knew Kiwaha from all tribes. And then, so I had Hiria Tūmoana from Tūhoi and Matiro Hainga. And then I met the kōrero. The kōrero, I didn't start learning under the three kōrero until much later on my language journey. Anyway, as a second language learner, you sort of learn the skeleton of the language now.
Yeah.
And then you start to really learn more about your tribal identity. And there's a tribal allegiance. There's a tribal pride, right?
Yep.
And I thought, well, for me and Kahungunu, how can I identify as Kahungunu through my language? Because a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to learn that reo. I want to go and learn te reo ake o taku iwi. I only want to learn Kahungunu reo. And I'm thinking, well, that's a bit ridiculous because most of us have learnt Māori from people who weren't Kahungunu because a lot of our people lost the language, right? So that's what drove me. I wanted to learn more about dialect and can Kahungunu retrieve what's been lost? Is it retrievable? Anyway, to cut a long story short, what did I find out in my research? Well, we learned that in Kahungunu, the language has been missing for some 4 to 5 generations in some families.
Wow.
It's a long time. Kahungunu was one of the first tribes behind Ngaitahu to suffer huge language losses, certainly from the southern end of Wairarapa all the way up to the Heretaunga Plains and Napier. I mean, you look at Heretaunga Plains, te haronga a te kāhu. It's a coloniser's dream.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. We've got 4 to 5 generations of language lost in some families. And it was hard. It was really hard trying to find how can we revive dialectal variations because we don't have a huge plethora of oral recordings.
Kia ora.
Waikato was quite lucky because Radio New Zealand followed Koroki around when he opened all those houses, but we didn't have a lot of that here. And it's quite funny because we were sitting right now, or where our mates are sitting right there, right underneath them is the Radio Kahungunu Vault, which houses hours and hours of tapes.
Oh, it's like the Vatican, eh?
It is, that's the Vatican. But Dr. Joseph Tirito is he holds the key to that room. But Radio Kahungunu has been recording the old since the late 1980s. And the good thing about radio is you have 2 native speakers that are just having social discourse. It's not a second language and asking whānau mai koe i hea.
Yeah.
Kura koe i
Nā
hea.
tō kupu ki tēnei.
No, they would just...
Social discourse, yana.
They would, yana. E yana ana nā kaumātune. Just talking about the weather. Talking about what's a leap year. Tau peke peke. Just things like that. Idioms, all those sorts of things.
Hapu away, all that.
All those dudes.
Nā wai rānei hapu
Kia te rongoa mo tērā.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of a research on what we could revive. But I guess the question is that in all of those old records, old newspapers, old manuscripts, the Williams Dictionary, what words can we actually use in a modern context in 2022?
Kia ora.
Because it's all good to go and revive 157 words from the Williams Dictionary, and we don't even use any of them that identifies Kahungunu words. So that's the big challenge.
Nō reira, koira te nama I kita I roto I te wirimu.
I think there's 157 words in the Williams Dictionary that have the suffix of KAH.
KAH, that's your suffix,
Not bracket, so you look that up and jump on, and we've got 157 words, and we don't use any of them today. It's not in the current vernacular.
Yeah.
So these are old words, and we know what it's like to revive old words. Panekiretanga was slammed for it's 15 years. So that's really the challenge that I found. You know, we don't have a luxury of unique sounds like Northland or Mātātua or the West Coast or the East Coast up the top. We don't have that anymore. And a lot of people, well, some
When you
people
say that, is there's no sign of it anymore, or you think there was never that much of a distinctive?
Well, I think that the majority of us are second language learners.
Okay, yeah.
Or we're natives, or we have native speakers that have come through Kohanga and Kura Kaupapa that have potentially learnt from other iwi, or they've learnt from second language learners, potentially.
Yep.
But the Kahungunu kaumātua that were native speakers of the language, the last bastion really is in the Wairoa region now. And I actually jumped on board the tani wharau kaupapa ko whaorau, and I asked for a matangiro, and I'm sorry, brother, because they cut tani wharau because of that, because they came here. Sorry about that.
And taipeki te wā, kia tuku tono anō.
Yeah, well, I can't because they're all gone. And those who aren't gone are very sickly, or the poor things have forgotten.
I was talking about me.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah, because, ora tonu ana ētahi o ngā kaumātua hoi no.
No, we don't have that anymore.
And do you think it's due to location, like the likes of Wairoa? I watch Matangiro a lot, and I hear other influences of dialect. Is it because you think they're bordering on other iwi?
Well, there's two types of dialect, right? So you've got a geographic dialect or a regionalect, and you've got a social dialect or a sociolect. Basically, a regional dialect is a dialect that grows within a certain area. And in order to grow and sustain a regional dialect, it's imperative that you have geographic distance or isolation and natural geographic barriers, because what that does is it minimizes language contamination.
Yep.
So if you look at some good examples of natural language barriers, I think the Urewera forest, rainforest is a great example.
Yep.
And I know that I have had some Tūhoi people who took offence to me saying that Ruatahuna was a relatively isolated community. But what I was trying to say is that Ruatahuna is a great example of a community that was able to maintain a very strong regional dialect, because there's a strong Tūhoi sound regardless.
Yes.
And then I know that within Tūhoi there's different sounds within the regions, but Tūhoi is the perfect recipe for a regional dialect.
Yep, kia ora.
It's got good, and I mean, I guess to a Tūhoi person, they know the roads like the back of their hand. But for us, going to Ruatahuna is one hell of a trip.
Yeah.
Well, for me it is.
Yeah.
I check my tyre air pressures and check the radiator, because I'm totally out of my familiarity there.
I haere mātai ki aukarohu mai tētahi tau te mata te tirahaira te panekiretanga. And one of the presenters, his name was Cedric Sunray Te Nākoe, and he wrote, it was just a whole lot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's about 20, nearly 30 points. And he titled it, So You Want Your Language to Die. Here are some helpful ways to make that happen. And I'll just read a few of them. One, say things like, that's not how my grandma used to say it. Disallow new words to be developed in the language. Say things like, that person was not raised fluent, so they should not be teaching the language. So there's about 30 of them. The one at the top of the list, number one, is argue over dialect.
Yep, let's go there, because I think that's it. I think dialect is driven by politics, ne?
Yep.
A language, dialect is a language with an army and a navy. What that is saying is that the driver behind dialect is politics. It's about identity.
Kia ora.
And it's become very political today.
Te Nākoe.
Yes.
Because with the renaissance of tribal autonomy or tribal independence, tribes are now promoting their dialect. Tribes are now starting to change the orthographic conventions or the writing rules of the language.
So the dialect can be seen visually.
So it can be seen.
Yeah.
And so that they can stand out and be different. Now that's evident in Tūhoi. The Te Uru Tau Matua, the tribal authority of Tūhoi, has a policy that all of their written language, they mustn't write the G. From what I understand, Te Uru Tau Matua is Te Uru Tau Matua's policy.
Aye.
So all official tribal publications don't have the G.
That they print.
Yep,
Day printer, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have, for example, Waikato Tainui, I believe.
The entity.
The
The
entity.
entity of Waikato Tainui.
Aye.
Because it is the entity.
Ana.
It still follows Robert Mahuta and Bruce Biggs' kaupapa of double vowels.
Oh, yeah.
And I think double vowels are awful. I'm just going to say it. I can't stand them. And then I know that...
When they're not warranted, like, you know, and me marama te iwi, there are times when you need a double vowel, like whakaaro.
Tāhua.
Compound
Ngira
words,
kupu
yeah.
ana.
Yeah, yeah.
Engari, e tautoko ana.
Yeah.
I'm Tainui, I use macrons. Kia ora tātou.
I know that Te Runanga o Ngāti Porou, I'm not sure.
No macrons.
No macrons?
Yeah.
Macrons, eh?
Nothing.
There's no macrons?
No full stops, no, nah.
I don't know if that's an official publication. I don't know if that's an official policy, but I know it's there. I know that in Taranaki, in the West Coast, the glottal stop has been accepted by Taurewhiri, so you can now
Okay.
write the apostrophe,
The apostrophe, yeah.
in lieu of your,
Kia ora.
of your
Ana.
H. So, you know, it is. It's highly political. And, I mean, it happens here. People are saying, I don't want to learn that dialect. Well, you can't know a dialect without learning your language.
Yes, absolutely.
It's ridiculous. You cannot
Well,
start learning dialect right from the beginning.
That's like say, I want to learn to drive. I only want to drive a Lamborghini. You'll never learn to drive if you don't get a Lamborghini.
Pai tēnā. Oh.
We have one language. There is one.
Did you save that for today?
That was great. What did you say? Lamborghini.
Lamborghini.
That was very profound.
Yeah.
Riveting. Bueno.
It is. It's a good way.
But kuna ta
Some of
tika.
them.
Yeah.
It's more riveting than dialect, but we'll try and make it exciting.
No, e rawe, because koine te tai o nā tino kaupapa, i ngā akoranga reo, i ngā krahe, i ngā wānanga iwi, hoki atu, koine te
Tamatu
kaupapa.
tētahi takunga nui.
Ko te
Kore ai te
tūreo.
tahi.
It is political.
But
And you know what? It is driven by ego because I know myself and it's a friendly banter between Paraone and I. It's tipuna versus tupuna.
Aye.
And whenever he has to sing ngoi song Whakarongo,
He says
tirohi a nā tikanga tapu anga, and I'll turn to him and I go, Tipuna! And he's like, Tipuna. And then when I have to sing ko te kupu te nā a o, and I'm like, Tupuna. And he's like, Tupuna! But it's very political. And I think when I'm translating for the government, I'm like, now I'm going to put my T-A-T-A-U.
Oh, yeah.
Because we all say, most of us say tātou.
Tātou.
Well, that may be different in Tainui now, but most people say tātou.
Aye.
And most of us spell it the standardised T-A-T-O-U, whereas I spell it T-A-T-A-U, but that's my ego. So now I'm going to write it like
Tamaroto.
this. Because that's my idea. Koera taku tamaroto.
Aye.
So it's very political, and we argue over it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ko tahi tonu te reo.
Aye.
Kia ora.
Ne? Kawa mai ētahi.
Wai, koe nā hoki aku whakaaro ki te tuhi au i tētahi kōrero. Like, for instance, o kupu. Some tono o kupu translating service. Some tono come to me and they want me to give them the tai tokero word. But I'll write it in its full. If it's a hakarongo, it's whakarongo. You know, that's how you write it.
Yeah.
But kei a koe te tikanga i tō whakahua. You know, it's the whakahua te
pai
mea
tēnā,
ki ai.
pai tēnā wānanga.
And to standardise for pānui for anyone to see it. And
That's
that's
what I say to students at kōrero. I say, let's go around the room now, say tātou, and you watch them while they all overthink it, eh?
Yeah.
And when I watch some people go, tātou, and I was like, you don't say that,
You
do
don't say it.
You don't say it, do you? Unless you're Charlie Te Pano o Rahui Papa. 'Cause
Yeah.
They probably do the most handi mani tātou that I know.
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie,
handi
Charlie
mani.
and Rahui there, handi mani tātou. Kia ora tātou.
Kia tātou.
But anyway, so I said to people, most of you write standardised T-A-T-O-U, but you're saying tātou. Most of you write K-O-U-T-O-U, but we're actually, most second language learners are saying koutou.
Right.
We're not saying koutou. So it makes me laugh when you go around the room, and then you see someone go, koutou. I'm like, you don't say that.
Yeah, you even look awkward. You're going, cool too.
So we don't speak how we write.
Yep.
And that's the danger here. But I think when you start wanting to meddle with orthographic conventions, first of all, you're prescribing. That's the other thing.
Yep.
You're prescribing that a whole tribe speaks one way. Now, how old is iwi?
Yeah.
Lucky 200 years in some places. And we all know how was iwi born? Through politics.
Kuina.
And I think when you start prescribing one dialectal variation for a whole tribe, because I have lots of Tūhoi friends that pronounce their G's.
Yes.
And then you've got the idiolectual, right?
Which is
What
just
is
the
it?
way...
Idiolect-
Yeah,
what's
so
that?
you're-
What's that?
So, idio, like... kei te kotahi tōna reo,
yeah.
tōna tūreo.
Like the idiosyncrasies.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
same
the
thing,
idiosyncrasies of one's individual way of speaking.
yes.
So your idiolect is how you speak. Has nothing to do with your education, has nothing to do with where do you live, has nothing to do with who your tribe is. It's just how you speak.
So how you speak, regardless of who you're with or from.
So i tētahi o mātou koraua ko mate, e nui taku noho ki a. He was 96 when he passed away, korohaki. Ngāti rau Kauaka nei. Nā nau I whakaako ki ngā pātere, ki e hoeno. He lived with Ngāti Porou for a time. When he came home with a hika.
Yeah.
And you'll find a lot of us, well, te hapu no reira rā te koraua, no Ngātira, they use e hika, and I picked that up from him. And then, you know, haere te panekiretanga, tararara. So now, kua tangata whenua te e hika ki tōku reo. Engari, ai hara tainu I te kōrero I te e hika. Engari, e paingi ana tērā kianga e au.
Yep.
You know, I like it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not even thinking about liking it, it just comes out naturally. So koira e rā ahuatanga.
And I think when you look at regional dialects were able to survive in those tribes that were relatively isolated.
Yes.
East Coast, Mātātua, Northland, pockets of the West Coast. Ne?
Yep.
Those are when you hear someone from Northland, you know straight away that person's from Northland.
Yeah.
So that's
You
how...
can hear it how they're breathing, they don't even have to talk.
Yeah.
Oi, anō e tātou
You know what I mean? Yeah, see?
Oh.
See?
Yeah.
Hangake ana tāra. Everything goes up.
Even the rere, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got tūhoi, everything's down.
Yeah.
Kei te pē aue, kei te pai ahau, kei te
And
tino
through
pai
the
ahau.
teeth too, I notice. Kei te
I love it
pēri,
into you. Kei te tino pai ahau, kei te mutunga mai o te wana ahau.
Yeah.
Kare koe ki te mai taku hari koa.
Even
So
the way that you
serious, eh?
ask.
Yeah.
I love that seriousness of tū, but tūhoi is generally down, eh? Generally. Everything's
yeah.
down, whereas Northland
Yeah.
tends to go up.
Yeah, goes up, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Rises.
what we now have in the language, in the Māori language, is social dialects.
Yes.
And te panekiretanga is a great example of a social dialect because we meet all of the criteria for a social stratification dialect.
Oh, yes. Social
Whakapaparanga. Strata.
Strata.
Yeah, stratification.
And it speaks about elitism within the language. You know, that an elite language has developed, or an elite dialectal variation or social dialectal variation has developed within the language. And panekiretanga meets all of that because Timoti loves to use words that bamboozle people.
Yeah.
He loves it. He aims to bamboozle, ne?
Yeah.
It's quite sadistic, I think. I think he loves seeing people gay.
Well, that's how you take it too, you know.
I remember karewi mo ki te kupu hānea.
Oh, yeah.
And we were coming home, tētai panekiretanga e tore kai huru tonu anau I tērā wā. And he says to me, and you just know by the tone of his voice, is he getting cheeky or is he serious? And he says, kei te hānene tō noho? And I was like, ai. And then come in my pake, how te hānene? Oh, it's just aua, but I could tell that.
I read the play. Oh, aye.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think, you know, panekiretanga is a great example, right? A lot of our words came from the Williams Dictionary. They were old words that hadn't been used for a long time.
Yep.
There we go. So we had our own vernacular, had our own words. Our grammar, we spoke a very complex and technical version of Māori language.
Yep.
You know, we did. You know, I te korenga ōku I pūrangi
Aye.
ki tāna I mate nui mai e.
Aye.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that. And the other one was a sound. We actually started a sound.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tēnā tātou katoa I tēnei kaupapa hui kai manua nāna nei tātou I rangi tāmere runga I te koengo nui I ngā tākirikiritanga o ngā tauwharewharenga o te
that's
mātou.
very wharehuia and, you know, horapa. Nā
Horapa,
tākiretanga
yeah.
horapai
And then we became clicky with it. We had our own idioms.
Yep.
We had our own kiwaha that people
Yep.
didn't understand.
Kiwaho of the day that only use only your rangapu or your group knew. Yep.
Ours was puanani, nā puanani o te reo. We thought we were mean.
I never used puanani.
Whakatangetange riaka.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then we became clicky with each other. We started kind of dress the same and roll with each other. So we created, that was a good example of social stratification.
Kia ora.
And we do. Panekiretanga speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and aha kua moi te kaupapa, e whērā tonu ana, e pērā tonu ana,
Yeah.
e whēraka tonu ana.
But I think that pinakitanga has normalised it a lot. And so have we through kōrero.
Yeah.
What was once a very sacred language has now become quite normalised.
Become the language.
I'm here because I remember when Liz Hunkin from Nuhaka, she started saying, tino a tāhua. She's like, tino rere hua.
Panoni was the other one.
Panoni, panoni.
But you know, when Whaia Liz said, tino rere hua, tino waiwaia. And she's looking at me going, waiwaia. I was like, ka pai koe Whaia Liz. And Mata was like, too much koe Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, that is how the language has changed. And I remember Rose Pere once when Timothy did nā tarahai ko mate. And I remember Rose Pere was like, hea te tarahai? Te was like, he pū hai hei, ka, kua roa rawa koe i roto waikare moana, ka, no mai. And she's like, hea te tarahai?
Yeah.
So even that word was an example.
Yeah.
Kareo i tupu me te tarahai. Pūhai, tā mātai kupu.
Yeah.
Harawini.
Nōmuri mai ka mohe au, hea te tarahai, o Whakarongo i te tarahai. Yeah.
But it's a political thing, right? And that's why Panekiretanga got slammed. And most of our criticism came from a lot of those places where regional dialects survived.
Yes.
Because they would watch Te Kare and go, what the hell is that word?
Yeah.
And we know those iwi
Yeah. Yeah.
that were hard on us.
Koe tai hoke he hoa no tātou.
Yeah. Until they got invited.
Yeah.
Mana kupeke. Backpedal.
Kupeke.
Yeah, but... Yeah.
Nā koira hoki ētahi, ngētahi, wētahi, hētahi.
Covering all your bases there.
Covering all your bases.
Tamare ki ai, like where te korau on e kōrero ana i nei mo ngā rangatahi e waihanga nei i a rātou ake kupu, ka puta, ka maringi nō mai, i nei. Pewhio whakaaro ki he tūreo tēnā? Tūreo tonu tēnā?
Yeah, I think it's a generational specific language, and I think it's evident in both Māori and English. I think in English, when you think of all of those, remember Aesop's fables? And remember those, not analogies, metaphors. He's as sly as this. Is it a parable or is it a... Are those metaphors, when you say he's as sly as a fox?
Like a simile, as is a
metaphor.
Yeah.
You know, as a fox, as sly as a fox.
Yeah.
So I think there's a generational thing, and I think generations continue to create words, and they have to, because a language dies if it's not allowed to evolve and grow. And it's hard. Like even today, I'm listening to this mehe te and wekenere and wawawana, and I'm like, and I'm saying to my students, ko te reo hou tērā, anei, kia mau ki wene.
Yeah.
But the reality is a lot of idioms that we were taught, some of them we just can't grasp.
Yeah.
Because Timothy goes, kei te he. But I thought, well, these are idioms he learned in Waikare Moana in the 1940s.
He used them before, ko wareware ai.
Tiko hawa?
No, it was in i roto te reo Pākehā.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'd never heard it before. I was like, it's from his generation.
But he's, you know, and that's why I think we're getting all these idioms wrong, because, you know.
And, you know, I think some of the idioms today, there are more wider influences as opposed to external, like not even Māori influences that are changing. And we're talking, you introduced a kiwaha that has a complexity of understanding the language, and I've yet to hear kiwaha now be as complex as that. Like,
you did right.
Yeah,
and that's with the melding and understanding of the language in its entirety that, you know, we're looking for ways to say those.
We need to I don't know, different descriptors for kiwaha.
Yeah.
Because some of them are like that one, you know, and the me koreake and those ones, and then you've got,
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. But I think language has to evolve.
Yes. Yeah.
And it is evolving. What are the other ways to kill a language? Argue over dialect, and then say that one is not a native speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had that.
Be afraid to try new things.
Yeah.
Say things like, we don't have a word for that, and then be against making a word for that. Be highly opinionated and believe you know best. Focus your language instruction on adults and not on children.
I had to laugh. Someone said to me there was a word about fuel injector that they had translated into mine. So I was like, when did Maoris have a word for fuel injector?
Yeah.
And then this Pākehā came back and said, the same way the English never had a word for it until it was created.
Yeah, so they used fuel and injector.
Hello.
Yeah.
You know, but there's this bullcrap about Maori shouldn't have words for that.
Yeah.
Be territorial.
Oh, yeah, that's very much in us.
Argue over spelling systems.
Argue over spelling system? Yes, we do.
We just had a wānangahia about that.
Tātou.
Yeah. Don't believe that the only time you are speaking your Indian language or Māori language wrong is when you are not attempting to speak it at all.
Oh, kia ora. Not attempting to speak it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll send them to you, he pai.
Oh, I've had that thrown at me. He doesn't speak Kahungunu dialect.
Aye.
I'm like, lol, where's your doctorate?
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, like I've researched this and I'm trying to find what a dialect
Yeah,
may
koira
look like.
tai, kua pānui au I tō tuhinga aroa. He tuhinga aroa?
I'm so glad you did, because when I wrote those
Tuhinga kai.
100,000 words, I thought no one's going to read it.
No, I've read it.
I just read summaries, but yeah, I'll read parts of it.
So the challenge, like I had from my rangitane side in Blenheim, I had someone come to me because they'd done translations for the warehouse and said, oh, we want to translate this into rangitane dialect. And I said, hōma.
Well, is
So
there
while we're
rangitane?
we're on that,
Yes.
because I tatahaere ki reira, so
Aye.
kei au te master list,
Yeah.
you know, and it's really interesting ki te ngā kupu.
Yeah.
A tēnā. Mai I te waipounamu ki te hiku.
What's your master list name?
O nā, I te mea, ko te tono mai a te kamupene rā.
Aye.
Mā tēnā rohe, mā tēnā rohe, āna ake kupu.
Yeah.
And I've got the master list from all the kaiwhaka Māori, and it's interesting to see. There's some are really different, some are the same.
Yeah.
What sort of words are these?
You know, for the
Self-checkout.
Yeah.
Oh, for the warehouse?
Yeah.
Oh, is that how the tono came
Yeah,
through
yeah.
to me?
We might have to redact that word in there because
We
might have
can't
to
use
like
that.
yeah. But
Okay.
yeah. So I've got the master list of all the translators, and he pai. I was going, man, this will be a good research topic.
Absolutely, because I asked
Hei au o kupu,
Yeah.
ka kite I tō ingoa, e homiro nei o e QA nei I ngā kupu a ētahi,
Wow.
ngā kupu a te tai rāwhiti. Half the whare in Tainui from like kirikiriro up are going to be double vowels and all the rest are macrons. So,
But that's creating, once again, you're creating another division there of the opinions of one speaking on behalf of another, of an entire rohe, creating that type of language. Because, that's what I thought in doing mine was like, is there ever an iwi-centric leo kupu for this new thing, like self-checkout? You know, so, those were the hard parts.
Well, for example, right, when we translated the Napier Airport, your luggage collection there, and I noticed in Auckland, I just flew into the Auckland International, and their word is te kohinga tueke. And I was going to use that word here, but I have never heard any of my kaumātua use the word tueke. Or piko.
Yeah.
For a
Tueke
bag.
tainui.
Yeah.
Yes,
He ka rongo ki te tueke.
Oh, that's what it was. Well, we didn't use it. I said, te kohinga peke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, peke I kone.
Yeah.
So,
I learned it off Auntie Pera the first time I heard it.
oh, koera te tueke.
Yeah.
And hoi ngā kōrero mo te kokoraho I te taitokerau, eh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, they put it up on the
Te kokoraho, te peke.
Kokoraho peke.
Kokoraho peke.
Kokoraho, I think.
Yeah, te peke
scared.
kokoraho.
Baggage collection.
Taitokerau e.
Oh, and
Kirikiri.
they had great fun with it.
They had great fun with
Oh,
that.
baggage claim.
Baggage claim,
Yeah.
yeah.
E whio whakaaro ki te mea kirikiri roa ngai taimai. Arrivals.
Ngā taimai.
Ngai taimai.
Oh, okay.
I can see the Māori.
Yeah, I like
there.
Te rā, te whakarōpūtanga o
Yeah,
tētai
ngā
hunga ka
taimai, I
taimai.
like it.
Yeah, I get it.
See, I
I
said
get
ngā
it.
tainga mai. No, they could work. See, the one I saw in Auckland was ngā tainga mai a tā wāhi.
So he kaiwhaka Māori koe, kaya tātou, o tātou raihana. Pewhia, you know, how do you go about, you know, when people ask for jobs, do you know, use Kahungunu-centric or you're chameleon when you do your translations?
If it's for the government, I tend to, I stick to my tātou, AU, I stick to that.
Oh, that's your, yeah.
But I don't write my kai and my hai. I go back to the standardised K and hei.
Oh, he mea kahununu tērā, te kai
Well,
me te
yes,
hai.
a lot of areas of kahunu stick
Yes.
with that kai and hai.
Yeah.
Although we come under fire once by Taupehi, who told us only Tūhoi speak like that. So when I do, I just write tātou, but everything else I leave the same.
Yeah.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
But I use my language, engari, ehara,
Yeah.
aia. I tend to use aia a lot. Yeah, but I write a standardised language.
Yeah.
Because they say that if the writer wants to write his dialect, he does it sparingly.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't cause too much distress
Kia
to
ora.
the reader.
Well, exactly.
Tēnā
Yeah. Well, koina hoki taku mahere. I write a standardised language.
Yeah.
And at times I fight the urge to write rangi and stuff, but I myself, naturally, I don't usually say that.
Well,
You know, and e rangi, things like that. Yeah.
Well, like an Aussie, right? I was talking to my two nephews, born and raised in Australia, and I said, "Where's your genders, you boys?" And they're like, "Huh?" So I use my word genders, and my mum's like, and their mum, my sister's like, go and get your thongs.
Yeah.
Because we're going to the pool, you know, and I said, are you going to the bottle shop? She's like, yeah, we're going to the bottle-o.
Bottle-o.
Oh, I said, hey, where's the local garage? You mean the servo?
Servo, yeah.
I said, look at those ones out there doing burnouts. Yeah, they're always hooning here. Hooning.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the kaupapa.
Ko te kaupapa tonu tērā, engari, hea ētahi kōrero i a tātou ki te hunga, e pīrangi ana ki te whakaora, ki te whakamahi rānei i o rātou tūreo. So what are we saying to people that want to revive and use their tūreo?
First of all, if you want to revive a geographic dialect, save your money, go and buy a Gloria Vale somewhere.
Gloria Vale.
And establish a community. And then put big fences up and live in that isolated community like Jonestown.
Yeah.
And don't allow anyone to come in. Teach your children in your own schools. Ban all of the outside media influences. Ban television. If you want to revive a geographic dialect in today's day and age.
You got to isolate.
Yeah, you need to be isolated and just totally shut out the outside world.
Yeah.
And then you can stop all language contact. So now you realise I'm being incredibly cynical and sarcastic.
Yeah.
So geographic dialect, the horse is bolted. And the other thing to remember is that a lot of our iwi, do some research. How many of your iwi actually live in the tribal region?
Kia ora.
You'll find that bugger all live there. So you need to realise that what you need to create is a social dialect. You need to find speakers that are second language learners of the language. They want to know the language. They want to identify as rangitani. They want to identify as kahungunu through the reo.
Kia ora.
And then you start feeding them with words, and then you create a social dialect.
Social
So people
dialect.
go, I want to be kahungunu through my reo,
Yep.
so I'm going to write tātou. Or I'm going to say kauheke for kaumātua, because that came from the Williams Dictionary. And that's what kahungunu is doing. We just slowly drip feed words, not too much.
Yep.
But geographic dialect is hard,
Yep.
unless you're from Matawai, Hokianga, or Ruatahuna.
Yeah.
Most of us don't have
And
that
living
luxury.
in those places.
Living in those
Well,
places.
how many
yeah.
of Tūhoi actually live in Ruatahuna?
Yeah.
Poe gave us the
Yeah.
stats. He said if they all went home, there wouldn't be enough room.
Yeah.
E
75%
whera anō mātou.
of those who identify
Yeah.
as Ngāpuhi live and have grown outside Ngāpuhi. 75%.
And it's
Yeah.
the same for us here in Kahungunu.
Yeah.
So geographic dialect is really hard.
Yes.
Unless you want to go...
Tāweki nei ko te social dialect.
Social
You have
dialect.
to create a social dialect, the same way Panekiretanga did. There's a great example
Kia
there.
ora.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whānau can, might sound like but pie in the sky stuff, but kao, pai tērā tauira mo te panekiretanga, and whānau can do that.
Well, they naturally do. Even like small social circles, you create that social language. And at home, you can have your own little language, via te reo, a mixture of whatever. But that you can create that language. And it becomes, well, I think a language of like he kupu aroha. Ka whakamahi e au te kupu marasese, nā te me he kupu aroha ki au.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I think you can do it in the home as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's Scotty's boys, Hawaii James's word for Milo was korora.
Korora, yeah.
He just made the word up and they started using it for Milo. Yeah, we'll call it a korora now.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? It's a new word.
Yeah.
Because, there's some really... Because people say to me, you need to look at the whakapāho of the word, this tēnā, ko uto, breaking it down. And there are some strange words in Māori language. Like āhua atua means rude.
Yeah.
Āhua means, to be likeness of an atua.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, how? Āhua atua does not mean rude to me. That means that you are an atua.
And that's how mehe te takes on another meaning.
So crazy nut, mo te tā ki te tūreo, where do people, if they want to research some of their kupus that they can put these, into their social, network. So, you talked about newspapers. So, me te tiro kiwhea. If they haven't got the critical mass of speakers, where do they go?
My first caution is beware. Beware of so-called exponents.
Beware.
Because people will say to you, for example, they might say, well, this is our word because it's in our mōteatea.
Yes.
So that's our word.
Yeah.
We don't say that. We don't have the perakas here and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So first of all, beware. Second of all is perhaps have a look, depending where you're from, contact your tribal authority just to see if they know, if they're producing resources, what might be out there.
Kia ora.
Thirdly, if you're from a tribe like we are on my rangitane side in the South Island, where we're literally ground zero, a good start is to maybe talk to some of those proficient speakers in your tribe and ask them what are some of the words. But you can do simple things like researching, finding out what old Māori newspapers might have been printed. But when you go to the Māori newspapers, you need to find out who the editors were. Because the editors could have been from other tribes.
Wow.
So you need to make sure that the editors, and there's only 4 newspapers in Kahungunu that we found were actual Kahungunu editors.
Oh, wow.
So there's that. There might already be dialectal resources produced, but it's highly political.
Williams Dictionary. You see
the Williams Dictionary. If you go onto the NZETC website, I think Vic University runs it, and then you click on the letter E, find out what your tribal suffix is. In the beginning of your Williams Dictionary, there's a list of suffixes, and it says, say, arawa, tai nui, etc. Like the word taia, according to the Williams Dictionary, that was an arawa word. So then you just go, you click on the E, then you go to the find in your Internet Explorer, type in KAH dot, and then it highlights all the words that have.
And just to pop in there, who knows when William was doing the dictionary is that he heard that word in Te Arawa.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know,
and it was
you
the
don't
first
know,
time you heard
know,
it,
and, so we, you know, that's very subjective when you see the
or it's a beginning.
And, like he heard that word in Te Arawa. Doesn't necessarily mean that only Te Arawa used it, you know, so
you could
got to exercise caution, you know, bear ware.
Bear ware. Well, you can confirm or deny the ideas to actually go in, not to prove, but actually deny what you think that's your word. Like until you can actually say yes.
Quite often though, you have to have a trained ear to listen. So Paraone and I could easily listen to a 1 hour recording of a kaumātua and I could write, oh, they said that. Oh, that's different. Oh, that's different.
Did you
But it takes years of training the ear to hear those things. Now,
I think that's the thing there, ka whakamaho, miharo nei iau, is it's actually the grafting. You've done a lot of digging for us to have the luxury of like listening to the whakaaro here. The amount of time you put into listening, things that people don't want to do, reading through screeds and screeds of old tuhinga, listening to old recordings, that's something, you know, mo te whakahia.
We love it. I love it.
Yeah. But you got to geek out at some point.
That's I don't know if I can say this, that's our pōni hapa. That's our Pornhub watching listening to ngā taonga.
We send files to each other. We hit this. He's going, since his collection.
What's your category?
Yeah.
But that's what it also takes. That's what I want to get out.
Well, the scary thing for me is that we've just done some research on, I think we did 60 hours of material, and we've come back with a 3-page report of things that we heard.
Oh, wow.
That we feel are unique dialectal variations to come.
Awhia puta I te rā.
3 pages.
Yeah. Oh.
In size 14 font. And one of them is a mihi. And I looked at it because I just got this report back and I'm like, oh, how? But that's the risk for us as Kahungunu. If we go and invest all this money into researching those tapes down there, what happens if we don't come back with a lot? What if all we come back with contributes to 1% of the modern vernacular? What if Kahungunu has to resign itself to the fact that once was here is potentially no more, because a lot of us don't speak like our kaumātua. They say they do, but they don't sound like their kaumātua.
And I think that's the koine te haere o te ao I nei, te ao Māori. And I don't lament that. Actually, I think it's because of our proximity now, what we're able to do in terms of connection, kei te panuni haere te reo.
Kua panunike.
Kua panunike, hai.
Kua ko make te hoio.
Yeah.
Okay, o tētahi tūmanako.
Mo te reo nei.
Ai.
Ko taku tūmanako nui mo te reo I roto I taku iwi o Ngāti Kahungunu nei. Ko ngā motuhaketanga āreo nei. Ahakoa e tinoa mai, ka mauera. E ko taku tino wawata ka noho ko te reo, hei whakakotahi a Ngāti Kahungunu.
Kia ora.
Kia tū mai te tangata no Kahungunu, e pakari ana ki te kōrero I te reo. Me ona kahungunutanga, me ona rereketanga, engari kia noho ko te reo hei kai whakakotahi I a Ngāti Kahungunu. Koe ra taku tino tūmanako mo taku iwi.
Tēnā koe. Tēnā koe hora nei ngā kōrero, kare koe kaiponu, kare koe matapiko, kare koe manihiko.
Kanepo.
Hea te manihiko?
Manihiko's a nasty person.
Oh, yeah. Mixed up.
So when you're nasty, might be a
koe
nasty bitch or something, you say, oh, tērā, he tangata manihiko.
There you go.
Wahine manihiko.
It's better than a nasty bee.
You can beep that out.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Bitch. I think we can say that.
Beep.
Now, hea tā tātou waiata?
Oh.
Waiata manihiko.
Tirohia, ngā tikanga tapu a ngā tipuna. That's it. Thank you.
Ka pohia, hei o
Ranga ngā
rangahau.
kau, au e. Whiua ki te ao, whiua ki te rangi, whiua ki ngā iwi katoa. Kau arawara e tukua e, kia memeha e.
Ara, kau e tukua kia
I was about to say
memeha.
whakarongo, whakaroko, hakarongo, whakarongo.
Oh, there you go, do that.
Whakarongo.
Now let's all do one each.
Okay, tīmata mai a koe.
Whakarongo.
Hea tau?
Whakarongo. Whakarongo.
Whakarongo,
Whakaroko.
Whakarongo.
whakarono.
Wakalono.
Where's that one from? Hoia no
From
tēnā
here.
koutou I whakarongo.
From the islands.
Kia mātou, ka nui tērā kia ad. Hoia no e mihi ake ana, tēnā koe brother. Tēnā
kia ora.
tātou I te ngahau o tā tātou noho. Me taku whakapono, he nui nā ako I roto
Ai.
I tēnei kōrero. I konei e kāre kore. Kua hihiri ngā whakaaro o te hunga whakarongo mai. Nō reira, ngai taringa e mihi ake ana, e mihi ana ki tō tātou whare.
Ai, tēnā koe te whare.
Kauaka me te rangatira o tā mātou, o tāku te manaki mai a mātou. Nō reira, mihi ake ana, hei kona.
Hei
Kora
kona.
koutou.
Bit whakarongo, bit kari. Gather up close, everybody, buddy. Taringa. Yeah, tahuri mai ki o. Whakarongo ki te tangi a te kori mako. Kōrero flowing out the hook of force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds. Kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā kona whakapiri mai ki te. Kaupapa tino whakahira. Whakarongo pi kari mai. Hare mai, o Taringa, hare mai. We gotta gather up close, everybody. Gather up close, everybody. Kani, move that body. Kani, move that body.
Taringa, he mea tuku nā te wānanga o Aotearoa, ā, nā te māngai pāho me irirangi te motu I tautoko. To listen to more episodes, search for us on your podcast app and subscribe, or follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Taringa, whakarongo mai.